Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, dear grade 12 students, how are you all? Today we are going to do grammar lesson 10, the passive. This chapter examines 1. How the be passive is formed, 2. The reasons for deleting the agent, and 3. The get passive. How the be passive is formed, you know that to change a sentence from active into passive, we need verb to be, like the example here, and the past participle. These are the two things we need to change a sentence from active to passive. Look at this sentence: the story was read by the whole class. We have verb to be here, which is was in the past, and the past participle of read, which is read. Sentence 2, lunch will be provided. Here we have a form of verb to be because it's future, and after will, you know, we need the base form of be and the past participle of verb provide, provided. The money had been kept. Again, this is past perfect, passive, had been. This is the form of verb to be we have, been, because it comes after had, and kept, the past participle of verb keep. The children are being watched. We have two forms of verb to be, as you can see, which happens in progressive tenses. And watched is the past participle. The signature or the form of the passive is be in some form. Be, am, is, are, being, and so on, plus past participle. We all know this. Any other use of be or of past participle does not mean the passive. For example, the following sentence uses be as a helping verb, but it is not a passive because the be verb is not followed by a past participle. They were eating. So we have be here, were, but we don't have past participle. And this sentence has past participle here, but it doesn't have be. So it's a must to have both things: verb to be, any form of verb to be, and the past participle of the main verb. Here we have an exercise. The following sentences contain a number of verb constructions in bold. If the verb construction is passive, write passive above the verb. If it is not passive, explain what element is missing. Like the example here. The players had finally united as a solid team. The players had finally united. Here, this is not passive. Why? Because we have had and united. Where is verb to be? We don't have verb to be. So, be as a helping verb is missing. Number 1, the kids were busy helping. So, we have verb to be here, but where is the past participle? So, it's not passive because the past participle is missing. Number 2, the initial proposal had originally been met. So we have verb to be here and the past participle, so this is passive, and so on. Let's move on to the next point. Passives are unique in that they are actually derived from another construction. Thus, there is a special paraphrase relationship between every passive sentence and its active one, which means the passive sentence is just the paraphrase of the active counterpart. Sentences that are in the passive are said to be in the passive voice, and the ones in the active are said to be in the active voice. A term voice, active voice, or passive voice is rarely used except in discussing the passive. Every passive sentence has been taken from a corresponding active sentence by a special set of rules. Here is an example. This is an active sentence: and wrote the final report of the committee. If we change it into passive, we go to the verb. Where is the verb? Wrote. Wrote what? Where is the direct object? The final report of the committee. So we pull this object, drag it and drop it at the beginning of the sentence. The final report of the committee. And then we look for verb to be in the tense of the original sentence, which is past, so we need was because this is a report, and the past participle of the main verb here written by am. There are three changes from the active sentence to its passive paraphrase, which we can imagine taking place in the following three-step process. The original subject of the active sentence, an, is turned into the object of a by prepositional phrase. We put by an at the end of the sentence. And here an is called the agent. The original object of the active sentence, the final report of the committee, moves forward to fill the now empty subject slot because the subject place is empty because it's put at the end of the sentence here preceded by. The helping verb be is inserted in front of the main verb before right here, which became written, in whatever tense the original main verb was in. And the main verb is changed into a past participle. In this example, the verb be is used in the past tense was. Why? Because the original verb was in the past, wrote. And the main verb is used in the past participle. What the past participle of right? Written. The tense of the active sentence is always retained in the passive paraphrase. If the active is in the present tense, the passive must also be in the present tense. Past, passive must be in the past, and so on. For example, in the following example, the tense of the original active sentence is kept in the passive paraphrase. Let's see. Active, and always writes the final report of the committee. He writes is present simple. The final report of the committee, we need verb to be in the present, which is because the subject here is report. And as usual, we have the past participle. The passive verb must agree with the new subject. Here we said the report is. We can say are or am. For example, if the above example had the original object in the plural, the passive would change to plural to agree with the new subject, like the final reports, not report. So we need are, not is. If the active sentence has one or more helping verbs, the be of the passive is inserted right in front of the main verb. Where is the main verb? When we have a verb phrase which is 4 words, the main verb is the most or the rightmost verb, the one on the very right. The form of the inserted be always takes on the tense from the original main verb. The main verb, of course, has to change to the past participle form, as we said. Here are some more examples of this process. The active contains a modal verb. Let's see. We should mail the letter as soon as possible. Here, should is past tense. Past of what? Yeah, the word should is the past of the word shall, so it's past. And mail here is the base form. After shall and the modals, we use the base form. The passive, the letter should be mail. Again, should is past tense of shall, be is base form, verb to be, and mailed is past participle of the main verb here, mail. The active contains a perfect tense. In this example, someone had written. So, a letter of complaint, the object here, had, past tense, because had is the past of has, or have, been, past participle of verb to be, written, past participle. The active contains a progressive tense. We have ing. The engineers were testing the machine. So where is past tense of verb to be? Testing, present participle, verb test. The machines were being tested. So where is past tense? Being, present participle, and past tested, is past participle. Exercise 2. Change the following active sentences into their passive equivalents. So we have some active sentences, change them into passive, and then label all the verb forms in the passive sentences. The first question has been done as an example. Let's see. We had already paid the phone bill. Had is past of have. Paid is past participle after had. So the passive form of this sentence is the phone bill had already been paid. Where is the verb? Had, past, been past participle, paid past participle. Let's look at sentence 1 and change it from active into passive. They will require an answer immediately. Will is present. Someone will say future. Future of what? The word will is present, and the past of this verb is would. Will, would. We have present and past. We don't talk about the tenses in which will is used. Will is present, and the past is would. Require is the base form of this verb. The kids are choosing. Are is present, verb to be, choosing present participle. Tab here, sorry, if we change sentence number 1, it should be an answer will be required immediately. An answer will be required. Will, present, be, base form of verb to be, required past participle. The kids are choosing a new pet. Are here is present and choosing present participle. If we want to change it into passive, a new pet is being chosen. Is present, being present participle, chosen past participle, and so on. Okay guys, let's end our lesson here today. Okay, thank you very much.